And welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we have another very simple, this is a beautiful dessert recipe for strawberry rhubarb crisp. And it is absolutely delicious. Right now is the perfect time. Both of these ingredients are right in season. And we hope you'll give this a try. It's fantastic and really, really easy. So here's our ingredients. We have some beautiful fresh strawberries. We're going to be using some sugar, some rhubarb, some vanilla, some brown sugar, some butter, a little bit of nutmeg for that warm spice, a little bit of salt, some rolled oats, and some flour. Now, a crisp is very simple. It's not really like a pie, so we're not going to have a bottom crust. It's basically just sort of like a streusel put over top of some fruit that we're going to cook just in the pan here. So first we're going to butter our casserole dish. We're going to make sure that it's nicely lubricated. We're going to make it easy to get everything out. And then we're going to make our streusel. So we're going to start with our flour and oats. Going to add that little sprinkle of salt in there as well. In goes our brown sugar. So basically all of our everything except for the white sugar and the fruit. Our brown sugar is a little bit chunky, but it's fine. We're going to add our butter in there. Also going to get the nutmeg in there as well. And if you don't have fresh nutmeg, it's fine to use already ground nutmeg. That's fine. Certainly will prevent you from dropping your nutmeg into your streusel. You don't need much if you're fresh grinding it. It's very, very potent. And then we're going to add our vanilla as well. And please, if you can, use real vanilla. It does make all the difference in the world. It's a much nicer flavor. Now we're going to cut these together with a pastry knife. So we have this pastry knife. We're just going to make sure that everything gets well combined. And you don't need to stir this a whole lot. You just really want to mix it together until it comes together like this. And everything looks pretty evenly distributed in there. And remember, you're using rolled oats for this. You don't want to use instant oats or minute oats or anything like that. You want to use rolled oats. That's the ones you want to use to make sure they cook properly. Now for our rhubarb, we're going to cut off some of the big sort of lumpy stem ends because they are a little fibrous and we just want to get those little bits off. Mostly we want to keep everything together. Of course, rhubarb is in general kind of fibery. And we're going to cut these into pretty small dice, honestly. We're going to cut them very, very small. And they are going to cook in the pan, like I said earlier. We are just going to cut these into a nice small dice. They don't have to be perfect, don't worry. They're going to mostly fall apart as they cook. So we're going to toss that in with the butter. Now the butter does a few things in the pan. It will, number one, as I said earlier, will help everything come out a little easier, but it will also sort of help cook everything. The oil in the butter helps to get those nice fruit nicely cooked together. So as usual, we're going to have all the amounts in the description below. And there you go. That's the last of the rhubarb. And then once all of the rhubarb is in there, we're going to put in about half of our white sugar. We're just going to cover the rhubarb with that. Now rhubarb is, of course, very, very sour. It's very astringent, and the sugar really helps to cut that. The strawberries will also very much help that as well, because they're very, very sweet as well. So there we go, just some of that sugar onto the rhubarb. And then we're just going to prepare our strawberries. So again, we want them in pretty small pieces. If the stem doesn't come all the way out when you twist it, then you can just cut it out. Now these strawberries were very, very ripe, so we didn't want to muck about with them too much or else they're going to fall apart. So we're going to cut them into roughly 8. Smaller ones will probably cut into fewer pieces if they're little. The big ones will cut into more pieces, whatever works. You just want them all roughly the same size. We're just going to sort of stack those on top of the rhubarb. And there we go. So that's all of our fruit in place. Once the strawberries are in there, we're going to cover them with the rest of the sugar. Make sure you're getting a pretty even coating. You don't want parts that are really, really sweet and parts that are really, really tart. You want it kind of even all the way through. So try to make sure that you're getting a pretty uniform coating of that sugar in your dish. Once you have everything covered in sugar, we are going to top this with our streusel. So there you go. Everything's covered in the sugar, and it's okay for that to sit for a little while you're finished getting this ready. It's going to just macerate into the fruit and help some of the juices come out, which are going to stew the fruit a little bit more as this dish cooks. And we're just going to crumble this streusel on top. It doesn't look like a lot when it's in the bowl, but it will cover the whole thing if you use the same sort of size pans that and the amounts that we're using. And it doesn't have to be pressed down or anything. We're not making a bottom crust on this or anything. We're just going to sprinkle it on top, and everything's going to cook together at the same time. So we're going to put that into our oven, our preheated oven, and we're going to let everything cook. And then when it's done, all of the fruit will be perfectly cooked underneath, and the streusel is going to be nice and dark on top. It's going to have a nice sort of toasty brown on top. And that looks perfect. You can see the fruit is bubbling nicely there. It's boiling away. A lot of the moisture has reduced, and the flavor has really concentrated in the fruit. We've got a nice little brown, crispy coating on top with that streusel. And also the juices from the fruit have helped to cook the oats. And really, that's it. That's as easy as it is. Now, as I said, there's not really a bottom crust to this, so it's not something you can scoop out into in a nice slice or a bar or something like that. So we're just going to pop this onto a plate. And the ideal presentation for this is, of course, just a little bit of just really nice vanilla ice cream. So we have our vanilla ice cream. This is actually from Kawartha Lakes. And just a nice little dollop of vanilla ice cream on top, and that's it, ready to go. And that's the whole thing. Super, super easy. As I showed you earlier, it's basically one bowl and then goes right into your casserole. You don't need to do a whole lot of cooking beforehand. It's all going to cook together once you put it into that casserole dish and into your oven. So we hope you'll give this a try. Again, right now, everything is in season, so get out there and give this one a shot. If you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.